call a point of order on the use of our microphones. It's important that all the board members are using their microphones when making comments so that the video camera can pick them up for the public and also for our record keeping, because our record keeping is done no longer by tape recorder, but the videotape is the recording. So we want to make sure that the voices are heard in case they're ever called for meetings or anything like that. And with that, we'll start the Pledge of Allegiance. And then we're going to move on to the approval of the agenda.
At one point, please, we'd like to have item number 8 removed from tonight's agenda. We no longer need that item.
Okay, so can I get an approval on the agenda with the removal of item number 8?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Jeff Tang. And I'm happy to second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 4-0. And now we're going to move on to our closed session. We're going to go into closed session. We should be back in about
15 to 20?
15 to 20 minutes. We're back from closed session at 6:04, and we have nothing to report. Moving on to item number 5, communication.
We have Ms. McCarthy tonight.
On? Oh, it is on, okay. Wow, that's really loud. Greetings. I just wanted to say that I'm super, super excited that so many of you will be attending the CTA dinner with us on Tuesday night. I'm really hoping that the board members who are present, that your takeaway is that teachers across our state of California work hard, not just in the classrooms, but out of the classrooms in support of public education. And I think that's what we all try to do all the time. So I'm super excited for Tuesday. If you need any information, please just reach out to me and I'll share whatever I can. And then also tonight, we have our counselor presenting. And so our counselor is part of Orchard Teachers Association. She's amazing. And she is doing the work of 2 right now. Well, and before when there were 2, they were doing the work of like 8. So she's doing the work of a lot. She's just working super, super hard. So I hope y'all show her a lot of support and love, and I hope you have a peaceful and productive meeting.
Thank you, Erin. Moving on to our public comments.
We do not have any additional public comment tonight.
We do not have any public comments this evening, so now we'll move on to a consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as it is.
I have a motion by Jeff Tang, and Catherine has seconded that. Any discussion?
I got a few questions that I can bring up offline. So, second the motion to approve.
Oh, Catherine already motioned. Just need to give us a second. So it's just making sure there's no further discussion, and then we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 4-0. We pulled item number 8. So moving on to item number 9, approval of the Raft Summer Camp 2024.
Yeah, so we're excited to bring this back tonight, as part of our summer program that we've done the last 2 years, partnering with Raft. I know we've been able to share just the feedback, both from our teachers that have taught in the program, but also from our parents and students that have been a part of the program. The feedback has overwhelmingly been in support of continuing the Raft program. So Luis and I had a chance to go through this contract. Anything else that changes coming up here, we do have a way out of it. But the approval tonight is pending our good fiscal standing. And so obviously that's our intention there. So if the board approves it tonight, it would be for the 2 years, and then we can provide an update to the board of obviously how we're doing in use of spending those ELAP dollars or any of the resources that we use for it. Our goal would be to have about 130 students in this program. The one additional change this year, Chris and Christina are working on our intervention program for summer school. We'll talk more about that in an upcoming meeting. Is we know some of our families, one, they need full-day program over the summer school. The other piece is Raft is a lot of fun for students. And so they don't want to necessarily go to the intervention program that we know is really important. They'd rather go to the Raft program, and we know that. And so what this allows us to do in this contract is to have our students go to our program for intervention and then still get an experience with Raft going over with our program. So our goal would be to have a couple of our teachers that are in our intervention program would then move in the afternoon and do the Raft program with our students. Now, it obviously is not going to be the same program considering the time difference, but whatever the theme is for that week, if you recall, there's 4 weeks of Raft. There'll be 4 different themes during those weeks. Our students that are in our intervention program wouldn't be able to engage in those same thematic units that they have as part of Raft. So it gives us a little bit to go back to our families and say, hey, we know the intervention is important for us, but we also recognize you need the full day and you want the Raft experience. And so all they're charging us for being part of that is we already have our staff members here. They're just paying us a material cost we're just paying a material cost for the students' afternoon session. So with that, we would just recommend the board approve this. I'll take any questions. I don't know, Luis or Carissa, if there's anything to add to that.
Did we say that it was going to be the same length as it was last year? Did we say it was going to drop sometimes because we didn't have time
So,
to get ready for the next year?
so it's going to be 4 weeks for Raft. Our program last year went for 5 weeks, but that was our intervention program. We are going to recommend that both Raft and our intervention program are actually both 4 weeks, just because we think that's one, better for our teachers. We might get more able to do it. Our classified staff, that helps, so they get their summer break. Our kids get a summer break. And then certainly on the facility side of the house, we need to clean those rooms. So 4 weeks is a better number for us.
And our cost reflects that.
Our cost does
We
reflect.
walked into that 4 weeks, won't exceed.
Correct.
Oh, great.
Correct.
So for the regular program, not the intervention, so the personnel will be provided by Raft?
Raft does hire their own personnel for it, yes.
Okay, so our teacher is mainly for the intervention programs.
Actually, our teachers in the last couple of years have actually worked for Raft and were hired by Raft.
Okay.
What we're hoping is that some of our teachers will choose our intervention program. That will be something that will be coming back to the board for approval too. But we do hope to have our staff, especially those that want to work over the summer instead of leaving for other summer jobs, that a lot of them do, that they choose to be here with our students over the summer.
Last year, how many teachers are working in this particular program?
How many of our teachers participated in the RAFT program last year? That's a good question. Chanel or Luis, do you have that? I want to say it was 3 or 4, but.
It was 3 or 4, but then some worked separate weeks, so I think we had a little bit more. But I think it was about 6 with like the rotation coming in and out.
So just because I know not everyone has a microphone out there, we're somewhere between 3 and 6 with it. We can get a more defined number for you because they would rotate during the weeks of it.
So we expect more teachers will join us this year.
I will say, though, we had a preliminary meeting with our summer school teachers, or actually, I should say, our classified staff and summer school teachers, because if you remember, part of the ELOP grant is you have to maintain a ratio within that class in order to use those funds, and so that was part of bringing our classified into the conversation. We had a good turnout at it. I mean, probably 10 to 12 people in the room, and then I've had 5 additional teachers that I've met with outside of it just to find out more details and provide some information as to what would make them want to work during the summer program.
Thanks.
Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't seen her hand.
Do we have any further discussion on this item? Do we have a motion to approve the RAFT contract?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Carl, a second by Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Our next item is our standard item for this time of the year. It's our school accountability report card, referred to as the SARC. I want to thank Christina and Carissa for their time and effort putting into it, as well as Luis. Our SARC is due by February 1st every single year. It's something that is posted both to our website. The state of California actually has adjusted it too, and we posted it's called My CDE portal. All school districts are required to do it. For us, we put our SARC into our, we have an issue with that packet. Ravina, I'm sorry, the document up there isn't linked right. We're going to change, I'm sorry for everyone, the document in there is not linking right, so we'll adjust that. But the school accountability report card doesn't have any changes typically from year to year, but it's always looking in the rear view when you look at the data. Majority of the data fields are populated by DTS through state data. So the state data is always a year behind. The data will always be a year behind in it, with the exception of what Chanel and I work on with Lawan, which is called the FIT reports. It's the facility inspection tool. That is based on current data. So teacher data, expenditures, all that is a year in review. With fit data, the facility side is all current data. And so we did have a slight area in our facility data in terms of moving from, moving categories down to good, which is the middle tier category. The reasons for that were HVAC unit that needs to be repaired, replaced, and then just natural wear and tear that happens around a campus. And so when you have those are things that we would consider in the facility master plan. In fact, everything that's in our facility master plan does match with the areas that we need to address in our facility. Any questions? Luis, anything? Chanel? Okay. Chris, anything you want to add for your sections? Okay. See if oh, no, it's up there now. Thank you. All right. So let me just show you the part of the fit, please. So again, this data is all coming from the state data. We don't actually put all of the data in. Carissa did have to add some of it. This is the section that is current data. So if you look at the rating of fair versus good, we do need a playground to be replaced out there. And we do need some HVAC units to be replaced. And though our structural side of the house is still rated as good, we did want to acknowledge that there are some minor roof repairs that we'll need to take on over the next couple years. Thanks for fixing that, Ravina. This is the whole thing. It's all up there now. Here, I can scroll. Is there any questions on it? Is there another section that you'd like me to dig in deeper to for the board?
Does anybody have any discussion?
No, at this time.
We do need a motion, right? We do need a motion and a second to approve this.
Motion for the start.
I have a motion by Carl,
Second.
second by Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? 4-0.
Thank you.
And now moving to teaching and learning.
So Aaron gave this a good introduction, but we do have Ms. Cassie Nelson here tonight. She's going to take you through one of the areas that, or one of the ways in which we support our students, and it's through our counseling program. And so, Cassie, thank you for joining us tonight, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks. Ravina, are you controlling my screen
I am.
here?
I
Oh,
got
you
it.
are, okay. So I'm just going to go over a couple of things, a background on what school counseling looks like in general and as a whole, school counseling, kind of what we cover, and then also how we directly support our students here at Orchard, and then that will also include wraparound services. So I wanted to include this slide just to give you some background on how school counseling programs are defined by ASCA, which is the national body that helps educate school counselors, American School Counseling Association. So we start with that bottom diamond, define. You want to define what students at your school need, and that's aligning with the goals of what your school is looking to do, or the mission and vision of your school. You then move over to the arrows with managing and delivering your program. Managing a program is just kind of defining, okay, here's what we're wanting to align with, what can I do to support those students? That is connected to the deliver slide because you're then delivering the services to the students. And you want to assess at the top. The assessment slide is to just rate how you're doing and what needs to be different, what should be changed, should you keep something the same. And so that's how we're taught as school counselors to design a school counseling program. You can go to the next slide. School counselors are trained to work with students in 3 different domains. So social, emotional, college and career, and academics. Social emotional is maybe self-explanatory, but working in supporting development and growth of our students. College and career assistance looks different in middle school and elementary school, and then also in high school. I think a lot of times people think of school counselors in the high school setting, just in relation to like college access. So it does kind of weigh more in a couple of different domains at the elementary and middle school level. But we do still hit on college and career in middle school, especially, and then also in elementary with just teaching kids how to be humans is definitely college and career prep. Academic domain is where we look at advocating for the needs of our students. You'll see some of the committees that school counselors serve on have a connection to this domain. For example, if students are not coming to school, how does that affect them academically? If students don't have access to food at home, how does that affect them academically? And so that's kind of the three domains that we work in, and all together we're working towards advocating for students. So directly, in that diamond at the start, we talked about direct services. And indirect services are the delivery of your program. That's where this falls in. ASCA recommends that we work 80% or spend 80% of our time directly with students in that direct student services area. The other area would be indirect student services, and they recommend that we spend roughly 20% of our time in this area. It's not always perfect, especially we're in a smaller school, so sometimes it doesn't always balance out exactly. But I have some examples of what that time looks like in a day-to-day for me in spending direct time. But I wanted to just point out a couple of things. Ideally and currently, we're doing some of these things here at Orchard. So that would include like school-wide classroom instruction. I'm going to break that down into what tiers or who school counseling is for in just a moment. But that's what that T1 and T2 and T3 represents. The lunch activities or after-school activities would be direct student time, small group time, welcoming new students, and one-on-one counseling relationships or one-on-one time with students is a huge one. And then also we provide emergency support. So if there's a student situation on campus, we would respond. And then indirect student service time includes, you can see quite a bit of things. So PEP and SST management, I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with that, but it's kind of the academic process that a student would go through to receive formal support. We assist with that as it falls into that academic domain. 504 management also falls into that same category. Creating schedule is part of that indirect time. It's not directly working with students, but it is something that we're able to assist with. Schooling services partnership falls into the indirect time just because schooling services, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with schooling services. It's our partnership with the county to provide outside counseling resources to families and students who need it. We manage as counselors that relationship. And that also does come with, because it's from the county, collecting data and entering data for them, as well as attending some of their professional development sessions and learning about the changes within the county. We also, like I mentioned earlier, serve with SART and SARB committees, so advocating for students and getting them what they need in order to get to school. We know that's always the goal is to have students here and in class. PBIS and MTSS committees, I am not sure how familiar everyone is with those. Hopefully so. Positive behavior interventions, and then also multi-tiered systems of support. Those two fall directly into, I guess, lining up with school counseling and the design of school counseling. So it's important that a school counselor serve on both of those committees. We are working towards a new program from the state of California that involves a scholarship program for students. It's really exciting, and it's something that's pretty fresh to us, but we're going to be working towards that because, like I mentioned, it is a scholarship program, which directly correlates with that college and career access. So if we can get students to learn about that earlier on in their journey, it makes sense for us to be part of it. TUPE is a program that's a grant program. TUPE is a drug and alcohol education program. We are working with them to have presentations here in the coming months. month, I think. And then we'll also work with them to build a program through there with peer advocacy and different like tabling events just to educate students on what it is that's out there. The presentation will be broken down by grade, so all the students will come in per grade. The presentation's about an hour, so it's small right away with just the education, but.
So each student will probably get an hour
Correct.
at least.
And then the person from Tupay, it's a program through the county. She'll also be here to table, so just do some education during the lunch period as well, in between the presentation days. And then the 7th and 8th graders would have received the program the previous year as well. So it's a refresher for those students. And then Parent Program is a new program with a partnership with the PTA, and counselor will be representing that as well, because if we can educate parents on some of these things, like small things like calling in your student for if they're sick, or learning about the IEP process, helping parents to advocate for their children will obviously help our children here at Orchard be successful. You can go to the next one. So I mentioned how that's delivered. An ideal program would look like this. It doesn't always happen this way, but it's always the goal. Tier 1 is universal. School counselors are for every student. I think sometimes a lot of people have the impression that school counselors are just for some students, but that's not the case. So in order for us to be more preventative and lower that number in our Tier 3 category of one-on-one student interactions, ideally we would be able to provide more SEL instruction to all students at Orchard. So that would include teaching things to all students like friendship skills and coping skills, bullying lessons, or college and career lessons. Getting into the classroom and potentially a curriculum. Yeah, it could look like that. Some schools have it designed into like a rotation or special rotation, like PEs in a rotation or libraries in a rotation. That's in some school models. Otherwise, some schools or school counselors will go in like once a month and do a lesson on a theme. It's been something that we're working on, but it has been challenging at times to be able to get in and make the time for every classroom, especially now riding solo. But that's ideally how it would work. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Doing those lessons with the classes. So all of the things she said, plus the need of what we're seeing with our students.
Also focus where to spend the time, what little time that you have.
Yeah, it can definitely direct that.
Just to recap, because I know we're recording it, what Dr. Bowman was sharing was that it's also done where the highest need is. So if there is a higher need in kindergarten, our counselors can go support in kindergarten versus if there's less needed in 5th grade at particular times.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So Tier 2 would look like doing groups, so meeting more students who need specific assistance with a specific skill, or maybe a lot of students we're seeing are experiencing divorce. I'm seeing a pattern. I'd try to make a group with that and be able to work with students together in a specific way. Or if we're seeing a pattern of a lot of students who need, for example, we did a 6th grade group last year for a lot of students who were involved in a lot of girl drama, so doing a lunch group with them. So we can target it in that way to work on specific skills with students in a setting where they get to practice the skills. And then Tier 3 would be just a few students. It typically, for a school counselor, lasts between 6 to 8 weeks, and it is by referral from a teacher, parent, staff member. A student can also refer themselves if they're potentially in a crisis, or if they wanted to work. Right now I have a student who wants to look at an application process for a magnet high school and looking at how that would work for her and talking about the interdistrict transfer process. Yes, hopefully they all do. But I try to make myself, and I know my co-counselor, try to be very present on campus so students are aware that they can come to us. You can go to the next one. So I just threw in a sample day just to show you kind of what it looks like, and then I also have another slide to show you. This is just an example, I guess, and then the next slide can also show you what it actually looks like in a day. And this is if I remember always to write everything down. I try my very best just so that I can collect my own data. But this is a sample of just last week. So it's a little less full in the end because we had those half days. And these are just some ways that students can work with their school counselor. It's just some ideas, and then ideas as well for parents. Just including this last slide about wraparound services because getting students support they need outside of school, especially at Orchard, is very important. And I just wanted to mention that this position of school counselor would hopefully work very closely with somebody in that community schools liaison position to help get students connected. We'll have, I'm sure, a lot of the same students with crossover of students, I guess to say, to help support them with what they need outside of school to be successful at school. Do you have any questions for me? Does anyone have questions? Thank you. Thank you. I tried to. Okay, thank you. Okay.
So what I can see is most of your time is spending with kids really kind of, maybe not a good word saying, in crisis or really in need, right?
Depending, yeah. Sometimes it's just a check-in for a student who might have experienced a crisis maybe weeks ago. It might be an emergency crisis in a situation like a 555 crisis, or a teacher could call for support immediately. Sometimes it might be a student who shares something with a teacher that might elevate to a crisis. But other times it might just be, hey, just checking in, you're a new student, how are you doing? Or working on a student who maybe experienced like some other kids being mean to them in the previous weeks, and we can check in with them consistently, maybe once a week, just to see how they're doing on that. So it kind of depends.
The one thing I think that, I don't know if you mentioned, but is Shelly, she's very good at it. Sorry, you're going to repeat what I said.
I was.
Maybe we should have a microphone over there.
She's excellent at the Orchard School, both her and Julia. It's self-advocacy and self-awareness. Literally just today, she brought a student to my office and said, you know, earlier in her career in education, she qualified for an IEP, but her parent didn't sign off on it. And she had taught the young lady the skills to come in and ask me, like, what do I need to do to get that IEP in place? Like, I think I need it now, and I think I need it in the future. Like, I want to move on. And so there is a lot of the crisis calls, but through the self-advocacy and the lunch bunches and the lessons that she's doing, they're really looking at awareness and at learning to advocate for themselves as well. And like, that's just one example from today.
So how often the kids come up to you saying, you know, I need your help?
Every day, every minute.
No, I was saying,
Hard to say. Like, I mean, I have kids who just want to come in like during a lunch period and sit and hang out during lunch because it's a safe space for them. I have students who just say, hey, I just wanted to come and talk to you. Are you available? And then we try to rate, is it an emergency? Do I have time to schedule you? Does your teacher know you're here? Does anyone know where you are? So it depends, but I would say it's frequent. But a lot of the times, it can be funneled through a teacher, and that's what I think makes it easier, so that somebody knows where they are.
so the particular question I'm asking is basically saying, every day, how many kids they come to you directly instead of referred by a teacher? The volunteer come to you.
I would say it varies. So for example, yesterday and today's been tough. We've had some hard CPS cases, but I can tell you within the time of handling those cases, probably 4 to 6 students are knocking on the door to find her or like to go in. And so, I mean, I'm just estimating you probably have a better number, but I mean, if every kid got to see her in a day, I mean, I would say close to 20 kids. Unfortunately,
But let's remember there's usually 2 of us.
yeah, right. But I mean, she's pulled, like, I'm sure she had a calendar today, but I think it was first thing in the morning, I was like, I need you for a CPS call. And then we had some other things that she has to handle. So I'm sure she has, 9 o'clock I'll do this and 10 o'clock, and she probably doesn't get to any of them until 4 or 5 o'clock because she does put the hierarchy of like the emergency, the crisis. But she's also good, like never missing a lunch bunch. Like those kids know every day that I'm making the time up at every Wednesday at 12 o'clock. And they show up sometimes before she did, knocking on the door. Where's Miss Nelson? Where's Miss Nelson? Like, so she's coming. So I would say if we had that open period, like 20, I don't know if you would say a different number. It's continuous, I can tell you that.
The crisis situation, it really just depends. It's hard to say. But otherwise, it's also hard to determine if they're coming up for a crisis or just coming up to check in or say hi. Yeah, maybe like 20 a day on their own is maybe
I see.
maybe
Sounds like
less.
they're not afraid of coming to the door.
Yeah. I think it's a safe place as you described. I like that very much.
Yeah.
A place they volunteer to come. That's very nice.
Yeah.
So
That's what we
besides
hope for.
those things, you.
Exactly. Yeah.
So besides those times you spend with those kids really in need, how about you mentioned about the academic side? So, I'm not sure, currently is in the transition from those middle school kids in 8th grade transition to the high school, right? So I'm not sure, can you describe your effort, helping them on that side?
Yeah, in the transition to high school? Sure. So we actually just this week have Independence coming on Wednesday to help students register for classes. That's tomorrow. I plan to be there during that time to help our students. I visited 8th grade classrooms on Monday just to get them, not this Monday, sorry, last week Monday, to prepare them that this is what's coming up. Please talk with your families about what this looks like, what's realistic for you. I also shared with them the school counseling page for Independence, so they were aware of what opportunities they have at Independence to register for classes. So they could just kind of take a pre-look. They're able to select 2 courses, so we talked about what that looks like and what the Independence High School counselors recommended. We also went over what Independence offers in terms of like sports and then also clubs and groups. And we also participated in a field trip last week, Wednesday or Thursday, I can't remember, with the arts at Independence. So students, it was a very fast turnaround field trip, so we had about 14 students attend, and they were able to sit in on 3 different types of classes they could take at Independence. And then they were also able to meet faculty at Independence and current students. So that's just a small part of what that process can look like. Last year, we also were able to do a career exploration day where we were able to bring in different folks from different areas of business to expose students to different types of careers. So we had like EMT, we had somebody in marketing, we had a lawyer, we had a photographer, we had a lot of different opportunities for students to learn about that. And then also what that looks like in the transition between 5th and 6th grade is going in and talking to them about that change, because even though they're still at Orchard, it still is a change to middle school. And so we do lessons beforehand. Last year we attempted to make like a scavenger hunt in the middle school so that the 5th graders going into 6th grade could kind of learn a little bit about what it looks like for them, or what just the middle school looks like, and it's maybe not as scary as they might think. But we have hopes to include more things. So yeah, that's maybe a little bit of a gist.
So are we going to have a career day this year?
I really hope so.
Okay. So you mentioned about, I think somewhere mentioned about the scholarship something. Is this something you are going to also to present to the 8th grade this year?
The scholarship that she's talking about is, if you think back to your board updates we had about Excite Credit Union. It's the state program, but one of the challenges with the state program is they were having a really hard time getting it into the hands of the kids and the family. So the approach has changed where you take it through the individual student approach. We met with the gentleman, I guess it was last week.
Last week, yeah.
And so we'll have 2 banners that are going to be posted around campus. They're supposed to be arriving sometime this week or early next week. Once families get to see it, then they're going to be working with Cassie to get just how to sign up for those bank accounts that are already in their name. So the accounts are there in their name, families just don't know it yet. And so Cassie's going to help get that out for everyone.
Great.
Yeah.
You
It's
did a
really
wonderful
cool.
job.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you. Am I good to go?
I just want to say thank you for all you do
thank
for our
you.
students
Thank
and
you.
our staff and community. I know that you work really, really hard, and this
Thank you.
presentation just highlights a little bit of what you do. So
Thank you.
I know that we're very lucky for the services that you and Julio provide to us. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, thanks.
Perfect. So we have 2 items tonight. One of the items that we have as part of our facilities update is the Miranda landscaping contract. This is being brought for approval this time. As the board will recall, last meeting, we had it under discussion because we wanted to make sure you knew what the contract was and what it was for. There's 0 changes to what Chanel and I were talking about last time with the contract, but we are seeking approval tonight. Just the other 2 things is we have our bids out there for our shade structure. Bid for the field will be going out soon. I know Luis had to work with our architects just to get the posting ready for the newspaper, so it will run. So that's going in a really good position. And then again, just tonight for the update, we are seeking approval for Miranda Landscaping to work on those projects around campus, in particular the ones with the most urgent need for tree trimming, pruning, and then the upkeep around our campus. Chanel, Luis, anything on that? Okay, thank you.
Any discussion on this item?
I'd just like to say that the companies that's been working on our trees have been doing a great job. It's gotten better and better over the last couple of years. It hasn't been cheap, but it hasn't been unfair. And it looks like they're continuing to do the right thing at the right time. I hope that's true. We're gonna have, more replanting and we're watching out for the pests that have killed our trees. It's looking good. I mean, we're spending 21,000, no. How much are we spending? 35. Say it again? 35. We have 21 on the crowning, and then the total is 35. Yeah, that's a lot. But we have a lot of trees, and each one takes, tender care, so I think it's money we have to spend, and I think it's gonna look real good. Our tree people are good.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? I do have one thing I'd like to
Oh,
say.
sorry.
That's okay. I know that there's quite a few trees around the field, and we're going to be, if all goes well, starting that field project in the spring. Does it make sense to trim those trees when they potentially could be damaged during that process, or maybe not trim the trees during that process?
So we actually are able to, but the approval tonight, we can actually pick and choose what the timeline is to do this project. So we do not need to do all the trees around the field right now. What we're focused on are the ones that are the most urgent needs. And not all the not all the trees around the field are impacted by the project. If it is impacted by the project, and then Chanel, you can chime in here. It's 3?
Yes, yes.
Go ahead.
So actually, at one of our last meetings, they did let us know that there were, I think it was 2 or 3 trees that are right behind the playground.
Yeah.
That they're gonna go ahead and have to take down, I believe, for some digging of some sort, but they did let us know that they were gonna go ahead and replace them and go ahead and replant trees.
Right.
That were basically taken down.
So just put it back out there, what Chanel was talking about is there's 3 trees that are behind our current playground location that have to be removed as part of any field work we do, and that goes whatever we do on the field because of our storm drains, or storm drainage. That runoff, thank you, Luis. Storm runoff, and so we will be able to replace that. So we won't double up on any work, I think is what the root of the question is, and we won't be doing that.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. So I have a motion by Carl, a second by Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
We do have one public comment on this item. I don't know if you want me to go through it first or the comment first.
We could take the comment first.
Ms. McCarthy?
Just so everyone knows, we're moving to item 13, the approval of salary schedule for classified confidentials.
I just wanted to come out swinging in favor of you approving this proposal. It's for 2 people who work hard. I mean, Ravina's new, but she is working hard. But Chanel is everywhere all the time, all at once, smiling. And I don't know how she does it, but y'all really should just approve this, and that's all. That's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Saren, do we have any discussion on this item?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Jeff. Do I have a second? I have a second by Catherine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 4-0, the motion carries. And now we'll move on to superintendent report.
Great. Well, thank you. I do want to start off by thanking the team, just because I was home last week. It's not something I love being, or love a place where I love to be, especially when I'm in a really small box for it. But I do want to acknowledge the team. I know it's hard, and they did a great job, so thank you for that last week. The update I want to focus on for a second here is just on the state budget, because I think when Luis and I were providing the board the update from what we had a chance to go up to Sacramento and listen to, it was hard to capture everything in just our update to all of you. And it's an interesting year because it's an election year. And I think this has always been true. And so when you go into these big election years and you see the January budget proposal, there's always so many things that change with it. And they were highlighting that extra this year, that because of all these things that parties, committees are hanging over each other, that there could be some significant changes this year between January and May than what we would typically expect. And so last year, there really wasn't overall much change from what was in the January proposal to what we saw at the end. There really wasn't much movement. This year, they are tempering us with, hey, be aware that this is an election year. We might see some things. And so the impact on us can vary. What we're looking at impacts being is more on the mandated any other ELOP dollars that we qualify for, because we are still right now community school funded. And so because of that factor, our focus is, yes, on any of those mandated block grants and other things like that, but also on where our property taxes are. We still don't get a great picture of property tax. We'll have a better picture of property taxes in May and June, but really our picture of that comes in the next school year. And so we are being mindful of that. As part of that, we do feel like when we bring our March budget forward, we are building in some reductions, both to contracts and services as part of that. We'll talk more about that coming up here. But we do feel that based on what we receive, we have to continue with that, or continue with that plan. And then any revisions to that plan we can have in May and then ultimately in June when we go forward with the adopted budget. The other piece I just want to hit on is this is an LCAP change year, which means we reset on our LCAP. So by the end of February, we have to have a board meeting to go over where we currently are with our LCAP. And then we have and will continue with our engagement process for our families, for our students, for our staff, because the LCAP plan is, or the LCAP template is going to look a little different this year than last year. And so we just saw the template for the first time. We have meetings coming up about how we're going to use the template and what's required in it. So I'll have more information once we have those county office meetings. think that is it tonight, so thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to future meeting and agenda items. You can see on the agenda the next meetings that we have. Our next meeting will be February 13th. You can always email Dr. Bowman or myself if you have any topics that you would like for those agendas. And now we'll move to board reports. Carl?
Yeah, actually, I want to make a comment on that future board meetings and agendas. From my point of view, we should give the student more chances to present themselves on the board meetings. One thing is to bring up their practice, their leadership skills and the presentation skills. The other way is we can get to hear more future arrangement for this.
Can I have a point of clarification on that? Is there a particular topic you'd want to hear from students on, or open in general?
Yeah, open in general, anything.
Thank you.
Any other, anything back on the future meeting and agenda items?
No.
Okay, so seeing none, we'll move on to our board reports. Carl?
Yeah, no, I don't have much to add. It's been a good couple, 3 weeks from our last meeting. Glad to see we're still moving forward well. Not a whole lot of unhappiness out here. Let's keep going that way. Thanks, everybody.
For me, is I had a wonderful time attending half of the spelling bee. I listened to Aaron's good jokes all the time. I have to, because I have to run, so I have other engagements. So on the road, actually, I used the YouTube. I think Steve did a great job. I can watch that, the whole thing via YouTube. And well, we also have those microphones. Now we have those set up. Great, thank you very much. And I know everybody working very hard, like the counselor just, did the presentation, the principal, all the teachers, and all the staff members. Thank you. That's all.
All right, we're going to try to see if I can do this correctly. Catherine, do you have anything? Let's see if we can do this.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Let's see if it works.
Oh, is that the? Oh, no, I really don't, but just keep up the good work. Try to reduce the stress, and thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Okay. So I just wanted to say that since our last meeting, I've been attending the Santa Clara County School Board Association meetings. We did the last one, Dr. Dewan gave us an update on the state of the county, and she'll be giving her State of the County address soon. I did go to the webinar that was provided by CSBA for the budget, the governor's budget, so that was very interesting to learn. And I also attended a webinar from CSBA on crisis management. That was very interesting to learn all the dynamics and how it works on a campus. You guys have to go through a lot, so. I've enjoyed going to the basketball games. Our basketball team played, the 6th, 7th graders are going to be playing on Thursday, and I haven't heard how the 8th graders did. They won. So our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders will all be playing on Thursday night for first place. There was a great turnout on Friday for the movie night by our PTA. So many parents and family were here. It was great to see that turnout. Looking forward to the dinner with Aaron on Tuesday. That's going to be fun. Carissa did another wonderful job at her parent coffee. We're working hard to get those family members to come and participate to see what's going on in our school, because this is their school and we want them to definitely be involved. And I'm looking forward to the upcoming parent engagement series that Cassie's going to be working on with our parents, and just to see how that goes and the growth that we potentially can get from that. So that's starting in February. And so definitely looking forward to seeing how that goes. And with that, I have nothing else. and we can adjourn the meeting at 6:53.